So for step 32, rear dampers 2, well, this is essentially the same step as what we did in step 28. And because it's essentially the same thing, I'm not going to walk you through this process because you've already seen it. We don't need to repeat it. So I'm going to direct you back to step 28 for filling these. Now the only difference is you'll notice that down here they want a 10 millimeter gap between the bottom and the bottom of the connector, whereas over here they wanted it to be 5 millimeters. So that is your only difference. So you'll need to set this for 10 millimeters versus the 5. So I'll go ahead and put those together, and then we'll quickly take a look. Okay, so there are our two finished rear shocks. And again, that was just the same as what we did in step 28. So there we go. We can move on. So now we're going to move on to step 33, which is rear dampers 3, and we're going to put the springs on and set the tension. So for step 33, rear dampers 3, well, here we go. We're going to grab our springs, the X4 piece and the V3, and we need to set that V3 piece up at 7 millimeters. So from the end of the cap to the edge of the raised plastic on that piece. So there's the cap screws, the springs, and of course our other little bits that we need. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. Well, again, it boils down to using the wrong or the right tool. Because I'm trying to use the Allen key that the kit came with, and I can't get the leverage on that. It's not working, and I'm finding it very difficult to do. So again, it's proving the point that you really need the Tamiya screwdriver set, because there is an Allen key screwdriver. Well, you can, once you start using that, there's a lot more leverage, and you can really find that hole and just push and start turning, and you've got a lot more grip with this. So again, use the right tools. I'm trying to use what came in the kit, and I think you're going to find this extremely difficult. So I would go ahead and use the Tamiya screwdriver kit to make this work. I don't know, I made my job that much harder trying to do it the other way. So let's continue. So this has to go up, and you can see that they want it at the 7 millimeters. That means 7 millimeters from the base, so the end of the cap here, and it needs to be 7. So we're gonna go, there's 5, let's go a little further here. We're looking at 5, well, that's pretty much 7 right there. So, well, I've already moved it again. It's such a pain. I want it tight enough that it's tight, but I don't want it too tight so that I can maneuver it. I want it a lot tighter than that so I can adjust it by hand, the fine tuning, before screwing it all the way down. Okay, it's grabbing now, so I'm going to back it off a bit. And again, let's get that 5 millimeter. Or 7 millimeter, I should say. There's one, so we're going to back it up. And you can see 5. 5, 6, 7. 5. Yep. So we're talking in the base of the metal cylinder to the top of the ridge. And the other thing to look out for is make sure that the image is showing the cap screw facing down. So you want the cap screw here facing down as well as they show. Now again, I'm just going to take another quick measurement. 5. Let's push that just a touch further back. 5, 6, 7. Yes, we're there. So we're going to screw this down. And it says don't over tighten, but I do want to make sure that it is on there nice and firm. Yes, and we'll do that one last check again just to make sure. And we're looking at 5, 6, 7. There's your 7 millimeters right there. So what does that mean? It means we can put on one of our springs and pull that all the way down, and we're going to grab one of those cap pieces, and you can see that that is going to fit over top just like that. So that it'll fit, and so it'll look like that. And there we go. So there's one of our rear shocks complete, and it feels so smooth. That's awesome. Yeah, it feels so smooth. But they're very firm. Like they're stiff, but that aeration just really pushes it back. It's nice. Okay, let's do the next one. So again, we're going to speed this up, I hope, a little bit. So now that we know how to use the proper tool, we're going to slide this on as before. We're going to stick the screw in, and we're going to use the proper tool for the job. And let's see how different this is, because I can put a little bit more leverage on here. Make sure it's going into the hole. Looks like it's finally, no, it's not grabbing yet. So even with the proper tool, we're having difficulties here. Okay, let's try this again, only we're going to push this in without putting it on the cylinder. I'm going to push this in. Let's see if we can get it to grab this way. Finally, it's grabbing. Okay, so let's put this back on. I'm going to have to loosen it off a bit to be able to fit over the cylinder. There we go. And we're going to tighten it down. And I want to get it tight enough that I can make adjustments on the fly here when we're setting up the 7 millimeters. Okay, it's pretty close. So let's look at this again. We need the 7 millimeters, cap facing down, the screw facing down. just like that. And let's set up the 7mm. Five. Well, it looks about right actually. So 5. Maybe a little more. There we go. So there is the 7mm distance, and making sure that that's still correct. Gonna do a final check here. Five. Yes. Okay. So, now knowing that, let's tighten it up. That won't move anywhere. Okay. So, what do we need to do? We need to grab our spring. Grab the end piece here. Pull this all the way down, and you can see that we need to use that end facing the connector up and over. There we go, and there we go, and there is shock number 2. They really do feel amazingly smooth. That's awesome. Okay, so that means step 33 is complete. So we're going to move on to now step 34 and work on the right rear arms.